to see how many people are here. So you have 110, 210 and 310. Perfectly fine, right? No questions in that. So save it, execute it. And you see 110, 210, 310 because this platform fees is something which is equally got added everywhere, right? This is okay. Now consider example, if this platform fee has to be equally added and there are multiple people who wanted to use this method where they can actually say, basically I have a different platform fee basically that need to be added. Now, you may be thinking I can do one simple thing, which is I can pass this fee as a second parameter over here such that anyone who is calling this function can always pass this fee also. Now, there is a problem. Think about you build a system. That system are used by Domino's. Those systems are used by McD, Pizza Hut. Many companies are using the same system internally that is using the same method. Why do you want, when each of these platforms have some packing charges or some constant charges that are being applied, it is going to vary company to company, but not going to vary transaction by transaction. If all the transactions within a company are going to have the same platform fee, any fee, then why do you want to ask everyone, every function call, every transaction to pass that information? Isn't that bad? I think that is not a good practice. What we should do in such cases, if there is a mechanism for me to set this configuration once as a company, and after that all the transactions which are happening after that can accommodate that understanding of the initial value that I have set and leverage that. Isn't that cool? Obviously, everyone will prefer that you tell me what is the platform charges once, I will be using always. Like global variables are something which is tricky and difficult. I will talk about a lot of disadvantages we have. What I will prefer instead of doing this, and I will prefer to create a function something like this. So this function basically I will try to make total with platform fee. And I will ask you, please tell me what is the platform fee. So default is something I will tell you. There's a tricky thing. Default is something if you don't give. I have 10 different customers. Oh, this is function. My bad, not an arrow function. So you have 10 different customers. Config default works for one default values. You can't have 10 different configurations as a default, right? So that doesn't work. Now what I wanted to set this platform fee once. Once it is set, I want to execute the same function I was doing over here. How? I'm going to say return same function. I will ask you for one simple thing, which is tell me the amount you wanted to add. I'm going to return the amount plus platform fee. And I'm going to comment this up. What I'm going to do, say suppose I have different companies who are going to use this particular function. I'm going to say, dude, you tell me once, total bill with 10, with platform, maybe I can say platform fee 10 as a question. What I'm going to do, call this function and pass 10 as a value. Now, the best part of it is, I keep on calling this function n number of times now, which is console.log and pass 100, pass 200, pass 300. What will happen? Anyone who knows, what will be the outcome of this? Yep, people are smart, as I said. So its outcome is going to be the same, which is, if you execute this, you get 110, 210, 310, same. I will tell how, what happened internally. We'll talk about that. But before that, say suppose I wanted to create same functions, but same thing, but with different platform fee, which is, this is 20. I'm giving a different name. This is a value which I'm passing of this platform fee, which is 20. And I'm taking this as an outcome in a new variable, which is having 20 at the end. I'm going to use the same reference over here. Let's execute it. What you will have? For the first one, you will have 110, 210, 310. And after that, these three will have 120, 220, and 320. it is able to remember the values that you have passed earlier. All the methods which are called based on the reference which you have this, it automatically remembers, oh, initially you have talked about a platform fee of 10. You don't have to talk or call it again and again and again. You don't have to pass it, right? Similarly, in the second one also, you actually passed a value once. It is able to remember it so that you can leverage it anytime in future till this reference exists. Till the time in your execution context, this reference exists, you can call this function and it remembers that you have passed a platform fee of 20 rupees, 10 rupees or whatever you have passed. What the hell is happening in JavaScript? People are, as people are saying, people are smart. It actually internally uses a concept, something called closure. What this closure is? Closure simply says that, like, we human are also smart, right? What we try to do, if you tell me something to remember, I will remember so that next time you don't have to tell me same thing need to be repeated. In case of JavaScript also, there is a something which is called closure, which says that if you execute any function, that returns another function. Any function that returns another function, the reference of this function, which is this, the reference of this function, which is this, come here, it got deleted. Come back. So the reference of this function are two. First reference is this, second reference is this. Why? You have executed this function, which is total with platform fee. You have executed this function. Once you execute this function, what you will get? The return statement, the function that we have over here, right? You will get over there. So this is another function. This is a function which you are getting from this return statement. The return statement is actually returning you a function which you are storing in a new variable. As this is a function, you can call it again and again and again with new value, which is amount, which is 100, 200, 300, right? This function is getting called over here with this 100, 200, 300. The beauty of it is the first time platform fee that you have passed, it actually internally creates a closure. It remembers this value till the point this reference exists, which is this reference, or you can say this reference. Till the point these references exist, so whatever platform fee you have passed, it will remember that particular platform ka fee, whatever value you have given, and you can access it anywhere inside this function. And hence you see amount you are able to access along with platform fee, because somewhere in between over here, it has this closure value which is created and basically stored inside this. After outer exit, so when I'm saying till this reference exists. So consider example, if this entire piece of code was in another function, so this reference will execute till that function is not executed. Once the function executes, the execution context goes away, it goes away, right? Why it has value is 3. Oh, you have to understand, because I have passed 2 platform fee. In the first one I have passed 10 and second one I have passed 20. You might have missed this. That's why you get confused. So the first 3 statement will give 110, 210, 310, and the second 3 statement will give 120, 220 and 320. Okay, I can make this window broader, don't worry. Okay, I hope that helped. Now, what you are able to do, you are able to remember this. Anything in JavaScript which within a function which helps to remember certain things so that the nested internal function can use it, that is something you can clearly understand. A closure has been created. A closure has been created which helps you to basically leverage and utilize the things that you have asked that function to remember. As simple as. I hope that helps everyone. All good, all good, all good. All set? Okay, I understand there can be 1-2 people who may having, I can repeat it, I will repeat it. There are always chances of confusion because the concept which I am talking are bit tricky and bit interesting at the same time, right? So let's try to understand once more. One thing we have to understand, what this function returns. If I execute this, what this will return? It will return another function, which is this function. This is another function it is going to return. Yes, in JavaScript you can have nested function, that is true. In JavaScript, this is valid. So why I've created the nested function? Because I want to pass some value which can be remembered for the future execution, as simple as. That's why I created a nested function. So that once I execute this, I will get a reference. In this reference, I will have another function which is this. But along with that, this reference has one thing which is very beautiful, which is it has internally created a closure with a platform fee of 10 rupees in this particular case. Similarly, this function has a function definition of this plus a closure value of this platform fee as in 20 rupees. Right? Now what I'm saying, so it's as simple as every time, instead of passing and saying that this is my platform fee, this is my platform fee and what not, I am doing one extra line, one extra execution which says that, dude, remember this is the transaction, you can say platform fee which is going to be executed. That's all. Now your function remembers this. Next time what you have to do, you have to remember this and keep on executing all that stuff. Right? So take an example, even in your shop also, right? You might have gone to any of the shop. What do? So you go to a shop or maybe a restaurant. What do you say? Bhaiya, whatever order I am placing is a veg order. So that when you order like next 20 items, you don't have to always repeat, oh, this is a veg chow mein, veg matar biryani, veg this and whatnot. So you are saying one extra line which is at the start. This is, oh dude, just remember this is what basically I wanted to use, and then you continue with your work. So that is how you do in JavaScript, basically using closure. Yes, like Swiggy veg option. You set it once and then you all have those filters and your communication happening on top of it. Right? Perfect. I hope now you guys are able to get it. Anyone who are having a few doubts, basically, right? So again, you have to practice a bit, try out more things. You have to understand, guys. In a master class, I can't make you master of all the, you can say, jargons and nuances of JavaScript. I'm trying to do my best, but somewhere if you have something, just go try to practice a bit, right? Perfect. With that, let me introduce another concept with this, which is, this is kinda okay. I'm good when it is about one item that I have to get the bill for. Say suppose I'm in a restaurant, I have ordered 5 items. Those 5 items has to be combined with a platform fee and you will get something out of that. So what I meant by, I could say simply, in this particular case, maybe let me make a simple function. Similar to this, but a simple function. What I'm going to do, okay, let me simplify a function. Get me a total bill. In this total bill, what I'm asking for a simple thing. I will give you n number of item, maybe item A, item B, item C, item D, and you have to just give me a total of these items. So which is A plus B plus C plus D, which is perfectly fine. What I'm saying, console.log. I have 4 items basically that I have purchased from the shop. Please get me the bill of all of these. One was 10 rupees, second was 30 rupees, 40 rupees and maybe 100 rupees. And similarly, you have some more bills that need to be calculated. One is 100, 130, 140 and maybe like 200. Similarly, you have 130, 110 and something. So you have 3 bills basically. Ta-da-da, sounds good. Okay. So now if you basically try to execute this piece of code, what do you have? Over here. Okay. So if I execute, so you have the summation, which is obviously, I am not good at math. People can 40, 40, 80 and 100, 180. The function is correct. You can trust me. So you get this value computed. Well and good. But do you really think everyone coming to your restaurant are going to order exactly same items, like 4 items? No. Someone will come and say, I want 1 item. Someone will say 2 items. Someone will say 3. Someone will come with the 50 item altogether. So, say suppose if there is a demand of less order, which is okay, I can basically remove this and do some extra handling over here, which says that if this is not there, consider this as in 0. If D is not there, consider this also as 0. Kinda something can be done. I can make it as smart as a default handling can be done over here. Or probably I can do a default handling over here. People was talking about default values. I can say if these values are not present, please consider these as null value, zero values basically. This can be done because kinda fine. Which you are smart enough. This works when you have when you have like planned a function for 30 people, 30 items, and everyone is buying within that amount. What if you have planned for 30 and people are coming with 40 items? Then your function is not going to work. It is going to boom, I don't know. Now, this brings to another interesting concept, which is rest and all sort of, okay, there is something important thing. People have started using ES6, then sometimes you don't understand the power of your argument, right? This brings to an important thing which is called argument. So you have something called arguments, okay? Now, this is interesting. So if I try to do this console.log, let's see what you will get. So obviously, each of these, it tells you how many arguments it has. So let's see. The first one you see, it has 10, 30, 40, 100. Obviously, the sum and all sort of thing you can just skip. Second is 100, 130, 230. Oh, where is that? Okay, I didn't save. Oh, it is 101, 100 and 130. This is a sum, right? Then it is 110, 130, 40 and 100. This is coming, which is kinda okay. So what you are getting, one thing which is interesting is you are dynamically able to get the number of arguments which are passed. If someone is passing one argument, you will get it, two argument, you will get it, three argument. As a matter of fact, if I increase this argument also, like make it something, something like this. I have increased the number of argument. Let's see what you will get. So you see the argument, all the argument you are able to get 110, 130, 40, 100, 20, 200, 1, 2, 3. Even though those are not present in your alts which you have mentioned explicitly, you are able to access all of them using a variable which is called argument, which is by default present in all the functions. All the functions, remember I'm not going to touch upon the arrow function, there are certain conditions. All the functions you will have this argument basically available. Perfectly fine. If you have this, can't we use this and leverage this in order to get rid of asking for these argument and whatnot? I think yes. How can? This is fallback. Like when I say if C is not available, please consider it a value as a 0. If it is undefined and null, please consider it as 0, right? To make it more meaningful. Now what we can do, we can make it something interesting. If we know we have argument, consider, trust me guys, this is not an array. This is not actually the object that you see, right? It is type of, you can say, object which has some more features and functionality that normal objects or object doesn't have. It is very powerful, right? You can get the length and whatnot out of that, right? So you can iterate this, but with a kinda different strategy. So what I'm going to say, I'm going to write a loop over here. So where I'm going to say, oh, for my I is equal to starting from 0, where my I is less than equal to argument dot length, please keep on doing I++ and do one thing, which is I have a var sum, which is initially 0. Just keep on adding the values that you see over here into this, which is from your arguments. You can get the values using this square bracket, which is to pick one item at a time. And finally, once you are done, just repeat it and return the sum. So I hope many people who are from programming background will be able to see this particular see this particular, understand this particular code snippet. Nothing special, nothing major over here. Let's try to see if this gives our answer. Okay. So you see, again, your answer remains the same. In the last one, if you see, you get your entire output. To make it simple, I can show you with very simple example, which is, I know it's difficult maths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Does someone know the summation of 1 to 10? What is that? 55. Ah, love you, ma'am. This is 55. This is you get. So you keep on adding the number of argument, and finally you will be able to see this particular thing in a very easy and simple way, which is kinda okay and which is kinda interesting also, right? People are good at math. People, was it n into n plus 1 divided by 2? You have reminded me my preparation for IIT JEE. which I feel bad for. Okay. Great, great, great. With that, we understand the power of argument. Like any functions, you keep on passing the n number of argument. I don't have to care. I don't have to explicitly write the variable. Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it happens some weird thing also. So consider example. I will tell you the weird thing that happened with me in past, which is you start naming variable as an A, second argument B, third argument C, then it comes D, then it comes to Z. And once we are done with A to Z, then what comes, guys? What is the variable name that comes once we are done with A to Z? Anyone in the house? Mostly A, B, B, C, C, D, D, right? And once we are done with it, maybe A1, A2, A3, B1, B2, B3, right? So you don't have to get into such confusion of the most confusing part for all the engineers in the house. Like variable name are difficult to basically remember, right? And noticing what the name should we give for those variables. You don't have to worry about. Now, this brings to another important concept that I wanted to help you to understand, which is very, very important, which is I use this for loop. Does anyone knows the challenges and problem with this for loop? Anyone in the house can help me? Oh, I know some problems that I've faced with for loop in past. Anyone who can relate? Should use let. Let is okay. One thing people are talking about, accidentally if you forget to use this var, it can have some damage, right? Which is okay. Even using vars, it can have damage, right? Due respect. What is? don't worry about that, guys. Even guys, if you have small doubts here and there, trust me, because it's very difficult to answer like 600, 800 people at a time with a small thing. You can always ping me. You can always ping team also, even after this session. Don't worry about that. So don't worry. Always they're happy to help, right? No one have seen the problems with for loop. Complexity with the large iteration. That's all. Mention the length in the loop, which is yes, one example. Base condition is necessary, which is very good. What else? What else comes to the? So I will tell you what how I see any of your loop is a loop. Okay, maybe people who are not aware of that. What is this loop all about? Loop itself says oops. Loop itself says oops. What it meant by? If you don't handle me properly, you will end up saying oops. What did I do? Like taking example, we talked about it can go into the infinite loop if you have not given the proper base condition and whatnot, right? It can actually go out of you can say length, and it can give some errors and whatnot. It has many things basically, right? I have generated, you can say, our definition of this loops are different. One day I will tell you what is this loop altogether. So you will remember what this basically loop is, but not today. Now, one thing you remember, if you do not handle your loop properly, you will end up saying oops. That is to 100% pakka, right? Now, the problem is, what if I could have said this is equal to 0? Can someone tell me what will be the outcome? I just added equal to 0. What is the outcome, guys? Error. Out of bound. You see NaN. Reason being, the last item which does not exist, it try to read, you will be able to read, but it is undefined. You are trying to add integer plus undefined, it will give you NaN, not a number. You see, small mistakes can end up into lot more hell. Accidentally, if I forget to do this plus man, you understand the issue which I will end up having. Anyone, what will happen if I don't have this I++? Infinite loop, dude, you're gone. Oops, moment, right? So that's why these all three conditions are very important. Why the hell we want this, our life to be complicated? Can we ease our life, simplify our life? Yes, you can. Using what? There is something called higher order functions, where it says that you abstract all the difficulty. You have to focus on your business logic, not the integrity and the look and feel of that. Don't worry about that. I'm going to give you something meaningful and powerful. Just use it, leverage it. Don't think about your oops condition and whatnot. You will never end up into your oops condition, right? How? using the same thing, but changing just one thing, which is instead of doing this, I'm going to say, I'm going to create, I will tell you why I'm doing this. Anyone who understands what is this? Or I can say, maybe numbers is equal to this. And then I'm going to say numbers dot, there is something called for each, which takes a callback. This is another callback. Inside this callback, you can do something. With every iteration, you get an item. What this for each says that I'm going to loop for all the number of items that you have one by one. If you have 5 items, I'm going to iterate 5 times such that first time I will give you item 1, second time item 2, third time item 3, item 4, item 5. The number of items that you have, I'm going to give you one at a time using this for each, as simple as, right? Now what I'm going to say, I'm simply going to say I have a sum plus is equal to item. Simple. Whatever sum I was having, I'm keeping on adding to every item which is getting from this iteration from the number. Why did I use this? 2 things. For each is present on array. For each is present on array. Arguments was not an array. So whenever you try to do arguments dot for each, it will throw an error and say that, dude, I don't understand, because for each does not exist inside the array. What I did, I converted your arguments into an array using this spread operator and using this technique. If you don't understand the spread operator on this, just go and search out after the session. Don't worry, it's a very small concept, right? So we are spreading this basically and spreading into array. Finally, we are generating this array. This is an array that we generated, and we are using this for each on top of the array, right? Which is good. Now, there are multiple ways. You can do this, or you can do a simple also, which is do odds, which is also valid. I just want to show you both the ways. I don't want to get into the ES6. These are certain variations of ES6. Basically, you can do this way and that way. I just wanted to keep things simple for you guys, so that you can focus on higher order function. Now, if I try to execute this code, simple things first. Okay. If I try to execute this code, the output remains the same. There is no problem at all, right? This is beautiful. Now, what the hell happening inside this for each? Dude, who you are? Like, where my complexity went off? Where is my oops? Where is my base condition? What is my iteration? How I'm increasing my numbers? From where to start, where to end? Where does that complexity logic went off? Do you see? It has lot of complexity. If you do not handle each of these 3 conditions properly, you are screwed up. Over here, is there any way to get it screwed up? Anyone? Can you get it screwed up? Right? You cannot, right? So ultimately, these are the arguments basically from we are collecting. So these numbers are basically part of your argument, such that it's an array format. We can always talk about performance of a very large scale, but trust me, your browsers are way smarter, and on the browser, the number of iterations and the number of items that you handle, those performance only matters when you are working, trust me, when you are working with like data heavy applications, like any charting related stuff or any data showcasing platforms, right? For games, or so anything which is very heavy data driven, then the concept comes with, shall I use for loop or a for each or something that I'm not going to drill into. But trust me, these are something which is very powerful, that gives you a very much abstraction. We are not sending params to, no, we are run, because argument can actually get all the params. That's what the argument is for, right? Argument helps you to get all the arguments, all the parameters, right? Okay, great. Now, what if I wanted to build something of my own, like this HOC, higher order function? It's a functional programming also, like you call it functional programming, that is correct, actually, right? What if I want to create my own something for each kind of thing? Can I do that? Yes, you can create something which is abstracted, and people who are talking about concept of polyfills, right? I'm going to introduce that also, and we will talk about that. Before I introduce those concepts, I'm going to help you to understand one simple thing, which is, who the hell is telling that for each exists? What I meant by, if I use this argument directly over here and I try to iterate, I'm using arguments directly. I'm using argument dot for each. Let's see what you will get. It will throw an error. What it says, dude, argument dot for each is not a function. I don't know who the hell you are. For each I don't consider at all, basically over here. Now, but I use numbers, which is actually data type of array, right? You have an array. When I use on top of array, you're able to see this outcome. Forget about this or for now so that you can concentrate on outcome. Execute. You see, your outcome is working. Now, who's defining for each will be available on arrays, but it won't be available on argument. What is this? Is something which is again very interesting. I'm going to just copy, not even copy. I'm going to just go to this particular console and I'm going to use something over here. So if I say you have, okay, I can take the same example also. I don't mind. If I take this example, okay, in this example, I'm going to do one simple thing. I'm going to print, which is dot for each, and I'm going to print dot for each for both. Console.log, this is numbers. Console.log, this I'm going to print numbers dot for each. Let's see. The first one you will see undefined and second one you will see the value. First one is undefined and second one you see actually it's a function. It's actually a function, right? Okay. Clean this up. I'm going to make another change. What I'm going to do, I'm going to print this arguments and I'm going to print this numbers. We'll see some interesting thing happening. When I print this, we'll do something. I will try to expand the first one. It has 10, 30, 40, 100, like these are the keys which is available. I don't see any method which is called for each. This is numbers. This numbers is getting printed over here. Can anyone see the method which is called for each inside this? When I am trying to expand, is there any method which is there? There is no method which is called for each. People are saying there is something interesting, which is inside. If I try to expand this, now we see there are many methods. And one of the method is actually called for each, which is actually helping the number to leverage this for each and execute it. When I go into this argument, try to expand this, what it has length property, it has symbol property, it has object definition, but it doesn't have anything related to for each. Hence, when you use this, it is basically breaking it out. Oh, am I breaking? Okay. Let's wait for a second or moment. Let me know once I'm back. All fine. Done. Okay. Good. Now, what I was saying, in this particular case, even though the method is not available directly on this numbers, but it is available somewhere inside the prototypical inheritance. What it is, let's try to understand with a very simple example and then probably you will be able to relate it. So consider an example. There are many people who might have got something from your parent, like maybe color, maybe the shape of your eyes, or probably the color tone of your eyes. Maybe you might have inherited many things. Maybe you are tall because your parents are tall. Anything that you can inherit from your parent. Sometimes you inherit a lot of good habits also as a default. Sometimes there are many genes related things you automatically get from your parent. Sometimes you unknowingly get diseases also from your parent, right? Maybe hair color, maybe diabetic sometimes, many things which can be inherited. What is happening actually over here? So over here, the thing which is happening is your parents are giving you something. Similarly, the same parent can give something to all the children, all the siblings that you have. You and your brother can have surname, right? So obviously, right? So you and your siblings can have similar kind of features, you can say, or skin tone, or it can be anything, because certain things are inherited from your parent and those can be common among multiple people. Similarly, in JavaScript, how this inheritance basically happens, it happens in a very interesting way. In JavaScript, as we compare to any other programming language, inheritance means create a copy of everything. Simple. If I ask you, you can say subclass of something, it means I am going to create a copy of whatever my parent was having and I am going to add on top of it. JavaScript is very smart. JavaScript says that, dude, why do you want to copy everything? If certain things can be added into your prototypical chain itself so that everyone can benefit. You don't have to always keep a copy of me. So take an example. Let's take an example. If your dad knows very good accounting, everyone can benefit. You can benefit, your sister can benefit, everyone can benefit. So sometimes I will tell you a trick. Anything which you feel you can teach or you can help your parents to grow in, right? Which you may not be interested, but your parents are interested in. Just go and help them to learn, even whatever age they are. Reason being, all your siblings are going to get benefit from them, right? You are not the only one. Multiple people can get benefit from your parents, right? Because you can inherit, you don't have to know and you don't have to learn everything. You don't have to create a copy of everything for yourself, right? What I meant by, it's a smartness that need to be played, right? Why do I keep a dump of everything on myself? Simple example. You have a knowledge. Your children are going to have knowledge. Everyone is going to have knowledge in some streams and whatnot. One, you become an engineer, you become a doctor, you become a CA, you become a hell lot of person in your life. You can, but why two, right? When you can distribute this knowledge in your hierarchical chain and get a benefit out of that. So what I mean by, so just try to leverage with the inheritance, which actually happens in JavaScript, which is prototypical inheritance, not a normal general class-based inheritance where everything is copied. So in this particular case, what is happening? This is a prototypical chain which is created and something is there in a prototype of it. Now, I will tell you an interesting thing. Biological students are getting jealous. Okay, so similar thing, say suppose I wanted to create my own some function. Say suppose I am going to create my own any function. I want to create my own for each function, take an example, maybe for each. So what I'm going to do, how to create it? First, we have to understand, we have to put it to the prototypical inheritance. So what it meant by, okay, let me tell you a small thing probably. No, I'm not going to take much time, but a small kinda concept which can be helpful for most of the people, which is how this inheritance basically happens in JavaScript. Let's try to quickly understand. One, you have a class A, which is parent class. Every class have two important things, which is the normal argument or variable that you have, and second is your prototype of that particular class. Similarly, you have B, which is normal arguments that you have inside this class, and second is prototype that you have. If you have to inherit anything, what it meant by in JavaScript, it's very simple. It's very simple. What it says, whenever you inherit your B from A, it means you copy your normal variables and arguments that you have into B. You add something on top of it which you want in B, which is your father was having some skill set. You by default inherit those things in JavaScript in a new class, and you add new features capability to that, which is perfectly fine. The other thing that you have, your father can also have a prototypical change. What it meant by, your father may be inheriting something from your grandfather and whatnot. Maybe the surname, as you said, someone, right? So your father also have something which is called a prototype. Now, when you as a class B, when you are a child and basically you are leveraging anything from your parent, how do you leverage? Very small thing. The prototype of your subclass will point to the prototype of your parent class. If you understand this small statement which I said, your life is easy like anything. The prototype, or you can say the prototype of your subclass actually points to the prototype of your parent class. I'm not going to get into the detail of this, but trust me, you have to understand this one-liner And in future, if we meet, we get a chance in order to get into more into the inheritance, I will definitely do that. But as a matter of fact of time, I cannot drill into each and every concept into the detail which I want, right? But I can tell you some tricks that you can remember. One, anything as a normal variable from your parent, you are going to copy into your child. You can add anything on top of it. The second, the prototype of your child is going to point to the prototype of your parent. I know it's very difficult to understand or digest the thing which I'm talking about. Just remember these statements, then try to Google it out, try to understand more in detail. Okay? So now I'm going to leverage this concept in more detail. So what I'm going to say, as we are talking about, we have to add my own map, my map basically functionality on an array. So what I will do, on the prototype of array, I am going to create a function which is called myMap. What this map does, iterate, generate, or maybe my for each. I don't want to my for each. What this does, it does very simple thing. Anyone who can tell what this for each, what is the definition of this for each? Can someone tell what this for each does? Simple. In simple layman term, can someone tell me what is the responsibility of the for each? One is iterate, perfect. Second, one you have to iterate. Perfect. No length, no length. The second thing is execute callback. So the callback that you are passing, it is this callback. You have to execute that callback always, right? You have to iterate, execute this callback, and what? Finally, keep on returning those callback. As simple as, right? So those are the certain things, but we will concentrate on these things. We have to iterate, we have to execute those callbacks which you are passing. So callback are being passed over from here, which is, if you see, compare for each and this, what do you have? It contains a function which is a callback. It contains a function which is a callback. As simple thing first. What I'm going to say, I'm going to simply say, I have so in this statement, I can write a for each internally, for loop. This for loop will have some starting point, which is where I is equal to 0, then from I is less than equal to what? You have to fill in this, guys. I plus plus. Inside this, I can do something, which is I can simply execute something which I am going to, but before that, tell me, guys, what is this endpoint? Callback.length, no. What is the array? Which array? Which array? We have to understand, in order to iterate through the array that we are talking, which is any array, we have to be sure that we are talking about one simple thing, which is we need to know that array. What is that array? Array, you have to iterate, then you have to get that array. From where you will get the array? In this particular case in JavaScript, there is another concept which is called AR, which is called this. This points to anything on which basically my for each is basically going to be used. What it meant by, if I use something like 1, 2, 3 and I write simply my for each, then your this will point to the object or an array on which this method is getting executed, which is this is your this. Sounds very weird, but trust me, this is your this, right? How to remember? This is your this, right? So this is what you have. Now I can simply say your AR.length is something I have to go with, but obviously it is not going to be equal to. Now we are good over here. Other thing that we have to do, we have done an iteration, which is done. What is the other thing? What is the other responsibility of a for each? What is the second responsibility of a for each? You have to execute a callback. Perfect. I can simply execute this callback with this particular array value, which is AR. Every time I iterate, I pass this value, which you see exactly over here. Every time it iterates, it gives you that particular instance as an item over here. Perfectly fine. It also gives you some more properties like a array, index. You can get all those also. Like if you go and check the definition of it, you will get all those definitions also. You can leverage. We were not leveraging. You can leverage if required. By default, it provides these capabilities. But it has something interesting. This will work. This callback is normal a function, any function. You can give fn callback function. You can write it callback fn. If that's a confusion thing. It's a callback function that you wanted to execute. And this is something which you have defined over here. Perfectly. This is good. The only difference is, there's one major thing that happens, which I will introduce another point. I understand many people may not be able to grab it, what I'm going to say, but trust me, you have to go Google it out and eventually you will understand those things, which is this function sometimes is okay, which is normal function, but sometimes what you have a context that need to be passed, a context need to be reused when you are actually using any of these higher order functions. What it meant by, I am going to use a call method in order to maintain the context. And what is that particular context? Is something which anyone can pass as a second parameter to this, which is I can pass this org over here and I can basically leverage this org inside as a context basically, right? So this org is my context which anyone can pass and say that, dude, you have to execute this function which I'm passing, but with respect to the context which I'm giving to you, which is, this is my context, use this context and then do operation on top of it, which is kinda interesting thing that we have to understand. Higher order function that we are using, yes. Higher order function, okay, you understand? Higher order function which abstracts lot of internal definitions which you don't have to worry about, right? And what we have done, we have also created a proto. Like what this proto basically is for, because I can put some implementation into the hierarchical chain so that everyone can benefit. Now it can be this method, it can be n number of arrays which can leverage this. It can be any other array. Any other array means it can be with 10, 20, 30. Any array as a matter of fact will have this method which is called my for each, because we have put into the prototype of that. As I said, instead of me learning the accounting, I could have passed this accounting thing to my father and said, Dad, you learn the accounting so that I will get benefit, my sibling will get benefit, and many other will get benefit. Okay, don't get confused with this. I have just keep a touch of one thing, which is there's so many things in JavaScript, definitely, right? And I'm trying to cover maximum nonsense which people are confused with. What we say, you can actually execute with normal callback, which is okay, no problem. These are some simple use cases. My job was to execute the callback, pass the first iteration, pass the entire array and item, which is perfectly fine. But in some of the advanced cases, you wanted to say, oh, I have some context on which you should basically execute this function. This context can another array which I wanted to leverage over here and do something on top of it. There can be multiple such things that can be happening with this particular context, but never get confused. So you can always pass a context, or if this context is not provided, you consider it as an undefined, which can also work. Don't worry. So sometimes you have to Google it out, guys. As I said, I cannot cover 100% of JavaScript in a single go. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just copy this and I'm going to go into the browser, execute this. Oh, for each, what happened? Is there any spelling mismatch? What happened? Array.prototype.for my each. Okay, let me execute it again. Okay, now let me execute this. Some actually, my bad. I could have given where sum is equal to 0, something like this. And you see, finally I execute the sum, you have 6 as an outcome. So what I meant by, now if I print any array, as a matter of fact, if I execute any array, try to expand this, go into the prototype of this, you see the function which I created as a my for each is available over here. And any array basically can leverage this function which I have created. Anyone who was talking about polyfill, this is the polyfill. For that, what I have to write, just one condition, which is simple. If this is not defined, please consider this definition. So consider example, if you are using any older browser and there is no for each definition like this. If that does not exist, what you are going to say? Please create this for each because multiple people may be using this for each. That's all. Polyfill is something, using prototype, you are creating a polyfill. Right? So using prototypes, you are saying if that definition does not exist, you enrich that definition in general to any object or array depending on what prototype you are creating. I'm creating prototype right now on array. Right? You chip in anywhere so that anyone can benefit from this, and anyone who is using on the latest browser basically may not be having the older version. Yes, you can try with the array.map, yes, which works 100%. You can try with any of the method that you see over here. What I meant by, if you go over here, you try to expand, you see all of these methods. There are many methods which are available only on the new browser, and there are many methods which are not available in, you can say, the old one. So the things which are not in the old one, you are trying to use in the code, it will break, boom, right? If some of your clients are using the older browser, right? That can happen. Great. Guys, I have so much thing to cover. Basically, I can keep on talking about many interesting things, maybe the promises, iterators. I have so many things, even to create a lot of, you can say, inheritance and more classes. But trust me, with the time constraint, I wanted to also accept the questions from you guys, which you have actually like 70 sort of questions. We'll try to do justice, and trust me, we can meet again in any of the other sessions and whatnot. Basically to learn, keep on learning more and more stuff. But as a time constraint, I have to somehow stop here, and I have to involve the moderator in order to help you with a lot of questions. But before we end, guys, did you learn at least one thing from this session? I just wanted to understand. Did you learn a single concept? If yes, just show me the thumbs up. If you enjoyed, if you learned a single new concept and maybe a new way to see that, just give a thumbs up so that I know that I did a justice to this particular session. Oh, that's great. Thanks everyone for showing your love. I really love enjoying with great-minded people. Okay, great. With that, let me see if Mihil, yes, Mihil is here. So Mihil, I think
the crowd is still wanting more content and this thing, but yes, not just one, many concepts. Thanks, Mukim. Thanks, Suraj. So what we'll do is we'll not keep this good feedback just limited to chats. I have with me some feedback polls that are important, ladies and gents, to understand how you would rate the session. So please just take out 2 minutes of your times and just update and click in the number which suits the option relevancy in sense. So these are 4 polls, and this will help Chirag and me greatly to understand where we were today and how we should better in our upcoming master classes. If you liked it, if you liked Chirag's content and everything in general, please feel free to give a 10, the highest rating. And yes, those are something. Please schedule another meeting. Somnath, please don't spam. We have just acknowledging a message, so you don't spam. Do not get into spamming. It's not great. But yes, for all masterclasses and other events, please check out scalar.com/events. This session was limited only to this 3 hours, so that Chirag can cover as many concepts as possible. Thank you, Sonali, as well. Yes, Chirag, please. Chirag, you were saying.
Yes.